everyone, this is Caroline at the Southeast Regional Library. Welcome to our virtual program. Today we're going to be making a t-shirt pillow. It's exactly what it sounds like, but I will go over everything that we're going to need to make our t-shirt pillow and then we'll make it together. So first you're going to need a little sewing kit. You can get a little one like this from the dollar store, Home Depot, or if you already have a needle and thread laying around, that is all you really need. We have a bunch of different colors in here, but if what you have laying around at home is green and you have a pink shirt, that's totally fine. You do not have to go out and get anything special if you already have some sewing supplies at home. You're going to need a t-shirt. I'm going to be using a t-shirt from one of our former summer reading programs. So this was our Oceans of Possibility, ocean-themed summer reading program. Can't really wear it anymore because this summer reading program has passed. So I am going to upcycle this shirt because I still really like it and make a nice little pillow for myself. You'll need a pair of scissors. It doesn't have to be a very sharp pair like this one. It could easily be a smaller like kids pair of scissors, but I don't always recommend the scissors that come in a sewing kit. I think that they're not great. So if yours are great, that's wonderful, but I always bring a backup pair of scissors just in case. And then last but not least, you will need some fluff. If you go to Joann's or Michael's, this is usually called polyfill. So you'll need a bag of that. We have a great big bag at the library because we use this for a lot of different things, but you do not have to get a big bag like this one. You could easily get like a 1 pound bag or one of just like the smaller kind of pillow sized bags at the craft store, and that will work just fine. So we are going to jump in. The first thing you're going to want to do is take your t-shirt. If this is something that you like mine, it's kind of a theme and you can't use it anymore, or it's a shirt that you really, really love but you've outgrown, that's exactly what we're looking for. We're going to turn it inside out. So if your shirt has a design, it's going to be on the inside now. Make sure we get our arms out. So it might look kind of funny because it's got all of its hems and stitching on the inside. And of course our Oceans of Possibility little print here. It's going to be backwards when you're looking at it, but this is exactly right. It's what you're going to want to do. So I'm going to lay that out and just let it hang out for a minute, and we are going to thread our needle. So let's see. I've got a pink thread. That's pretty close. Once we turn our shirt inside out, you're not really going to see the color of your thread, so it doesn't matter too much, but I think I'll use the pink. And then we're going to need a needle. Most sewing kits come with either something like this, like a little kind of wheel of needles, or they'll come with just like a little flat kind of palette of needles that you can just pick one out. This one has like a little opening where you can turn it and shake a needle out. So I'm going to shake one out. The nice thing about this, you do not have to be an expert seamstress or a very skilled sewer to make a t-shirt pillow. So do not worry if this is the first time you've ever sewn something. This is actually the perfect thing, I think, to learn how to sew. So I'm going to pull a length of string and trim it here. That's all we're really using our scissors for. So like I said, does not have to be a super, super sharp pair, but I don't always trust the scissors that come with a sewing kit. I just don't think that they're always as sharp as you need them to be. So we're going to thread our needle. If this is the first time you've ever threaded a needle, you're going to look for the very, very small hole. I don't even know if you can see it because it's so tiny at the top of your needle, and you're going to use an end of your thread to just put through that hole. It's a little tricky, so if you have a grown-up at home that knows how to sew, or maybe has hands that are a little more expert at the really tiny intricacies of putting a thread and needle, you can certainly ask for help. I also find that sometimes thread frays a little bit when you cut it, so I always just give it a little lick. My grandma taught me to do that when I first started sewing. She said it binds everything back up. Puts all those little fuzzies and strings back together, makes it a little easier to thread your needle. Sometimes you just really struggle too. Come on. You can do it. There we go, we got a little piece, so I'm just gonna pinch it. There we go, and pull it through. Sometimes I've been sewing for a long time, and sometimes even the most expert sewers cannot thread a needle. I like to pull my needle through all the way to the opposite end of where the string starts and put the two ends together. It makes a slightly thicker thread for your sewing, but it also keeps you from having the little tail. I know some people like to sew and they'll pull the needle through and just leave a little end and kind of leave it open. That is not how I learned to sew, and I get really frustrated when I pull too hard and that little tail comes off, and then I have to rethread my needle, because as we saw, that is just a very precarious thing to do. So I like to pull my needle all the way to the end, put my ends together, and have my needle on the opposite side, and then tie a knot in the two ends of the string. I like to try to make the knot as thick as you can, so that if you have a shirt with like a wider weave, then it's harder for the thread to pull out. Because if your knot is a little too small, sometimes it'll just whoop, pull right through the material. So we've got a good knot there. No way that's coming through our shirt. So we are going to sew the bottom of our shirt first. So we're gonna lay it out as best we can. Get the end here. I wanna make sure my ends are even and not one end shorter than the other, or else it's gonna sew up kind of funny. All right. So it does not matter what side you start on, but we're gonna start at the very end where the side seam of our shirt, like where it would be under your armpit, meets the very bottom hem of your shirt. And you're gonna start as close to the edge as you possibly can. It's a little thick there because that's where your hem is. And there's a lot of material there, but we're gonna get as close to the edge as we can. You'll push your needle through and pull up just like I just did. And then there's a couple different ways that you can sew along the bottom of your shirt here. I'll show you the way that I'm not going to do it, and I'll show you the way I'm gonna do it, because if I start, then we're gonna be into sewing territory. So I've pulled the needle through one side, and now what you could do is go back through the side that you just pulled your needle through and pull it back towards you, and then keep doing that. Pull it away, pull it back, pull it away, pull it back. The way I like to sew t-shirt pillows is to go over the top of the bottom of our shirt. So we've got the opening here, I've got my needle pulled through, it's facing you. So I'm gonna bring it over the top and push back through so that the needle's coming towards you again. Just like that. So it's created a little stitch here, and then you're just gonna keep doing that over and over. You're gonna want to try to keep your stitches as close together as you possibly can, so that you don't let any fluff out once we fill our t-shirt with fluff. They don't have to be right on top of each other, but try as close as you can. My little string is pretty short, so I think I'm gonna have to get myself some more string and thread my needle again, which I'm not too excited for, but that's okay. That is just my least favorite part of sewing. We're doing my favorite part now. I made a t-shirt pillow for the very first time when I was probably 8 or 9, and I was going to Girl Scouts, and we were told to bring a shirt, and we made t-shirt pillows at Girl Scouts. And I already kind of knew how to sew because my grandma's a really good sewer, and so she had taught me when I was pretty young, but I was kind of just sewing little things at that point, just kind of making like little squares of fabric and testing out my stitch. I wasn't really making too much yet. So this was the first time I really got to make something, and that was really cool. And then I turned into a t-shirt pillow fiend. I just had to have all the t-shirt pillows. I was turning everything I owned into a t-shirt pillow. As soon as I outgrew something, if it was a shirt that I loved, it turned into a pillow. I'm sure that my mom still has a million soccer jersey t-shirt pillows at her house, because at the same time that I was in Girl Scouts, I was playing soccer. And so every season, when we would finish a season, I couldn't wear my jersey anymore because soccer was over, and I would turn my jersey into a pillow. So we had a lot of those around our house. All right, my thread's getting pretty short here, so I'm gonna stop. It looks like I've got a pretty decent length, but we're gonna need a little length on our string to make a knot. So it's a little earlier than I thought I'd be showing you, but let me show you how to make a knot in your string so that you can cut it off, and then we can start again. So with your thread, you're gonna go back through the last stitch you made. So I'm gonna find him and push your needle through that last stitch. Not all the way though. You're gonna leave a little kind of circle at the top. So leave that open, and then you're gonna push your needle back through that stitch, the little loop that you made. You pull, 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 and then it makes a little knot. So you can cut that. Awesome. And then I'm going to pull this little piece and get my thread. Oh, my thread's already out, perfect. Get my thread back, get a longer length this time. All right, let's thread my needle again, hopefully a little easier than last time. Hey, much easier. All right. Let's find my other end. We're gonna line up our ends here. Oh, I'm pulling the wrong side. Line up our ends, make sure our needle's all the way at the bottom. Oh, it's not quite there. All the way at the bottom. All the way, there we go. All the way at the bottom, so we've got a good length this time. And then we'll tie our knot up at the top here. Make sure our two ends stay together. They are buddies. Tie a couple of knots to make sure it doesn't pull through our fabric. Ooh. Sometimes you drop your one end of your string and then it looks silly. There we go. Let's try that again. They're buddies. They have to stay together. Once again, if you are stitching it inside out, we don't have to cut off the little tails because those are going to get tucked in when we turn our shirt right side in. So let's move our spool and let me find where I left off. And luckily there's not too many ways that you can kind of go wrong with going back to your spot. So I'm going to find where I left off right there, and I can just go right back through the back side. Pull it out, perfect, and then loop. There we go. All right, now we're in business. Longer string this time, I should be able to get all the way to the end. And if your stitches are not super nice and neat, that is okay. Like I said, this was the first kind of big sewing project I ever did. So it was the first time I ever really had to be neat and kind of pay attention to what I was doing. But my very first t-shirt pillow, my stitches were not straight or neat or uniform. That's totally fine. You don't have to worry about it. No one's grading you or judging you. This is just a fun way for you to turn a shirt you love into a keepsake. And not just have it sitting in a bucket or in a drawer and taking up space. These are perfect for like throw pillows. If you have a chair that you really like to sit in, you could put this in a chair. My bed as a kid just used to be filled with t-shirt pillows. So if you like to sleep with stuffies, you can throw your t-shirt pillows in with your stuffies. You can use it as a pillow. It's a great car pillow. I used to bring t-shirt pillows on like every road trip we would take. So it's just a good pillow to have in the car. Uh-oh, got a little knot. Let's see if I can undo it without having to cut my string. Oh, that's a big one. I don't know how that happened. Well, let's see if we can. But that's not gonna come out. So we're just gonna kind of double back. Luckily, it was pretty close to the edge of my, there we go, the edge of my string, so I didn't lose a ton of length. So I just went back over it, and now we're cruising again. Sometimes your string will knot up, and there's no rhyme or reason why. I can never figure out when I get a knot like that, like where'd that come from? What did I do? Did I twist it up funny? Did I pull it through itself? No, string is just silly. Sometimes you just don't know how it happens. Well, that's all right. So I think I mentioned the word upcycle, but if I hadn't said it, this is a great project for upcycling shirts that you love. Parents, if you're watching, this is a great way to upcycle onesies, shirts that your little ones have had that you just can't part with, things that you don't want to pass down as hand-me-downs or give to friends when they have babies. If it's a really special shirt, you can keep it and not have to get rid of it. And even better, if you're not someone who has multiple kiddos and can give hand-me-downs, keep passing clothes down, or if you are the last of your friends to have kids and you are the one that's been getting all the hand-me-downs, you don't have to let clothes go into the waste cycle. Clothes are actually one of the things that get thrown away the most, and they really don't often break down because there is something called synthetic fibers, and polyester is one of those synthetic fibers, and polyester is in most of our clothes. So unless something is 100% cotton, it probably has some synthetic fibers in it, like a cotton poly blend. You might see that on a tag. So that's when cotton and polyester are blended together to make clothes. Let's see, is this a cotton poly blend? Oh no, I think this might be 100%. Oh, nope, 50-50. So 50% cotton, 50% polyester. Cotton will break down eventually, but unfortunately, if our clothes go into the waste cycle, like if they get thrown away or if they get a hole in them and you toss them, they go into the waste cycle, and even if they're 100% cotton, they don't always break down. So most natural materials break down over time, and they decompose and kind of turn back into the material that makes dirt. But if we have synthetic fibers like polyester in our clothes, those don't break down. So if they go in the garbage, they stay in the garbage forever. And that is what's kind of hurting our planet, is all this waste that won't ever break down. It puts a lot of bad gases into the planet, and it takes up space. Can you think of how much garbage you might throw away at home and how much space that takes up? Well, it's taking up space in a landfill eventually. So we try as best we can, right, with recycling to keep our things out of the waste cycle and away from the garbage. And this is a really great way to keep our clothes away from the garbage. So I don't think I knew that when I was a kid making my t-shirt pillows, but I've certainly learned as an adult that finding ways to reuse our clothes and sew them up and fix them when we can rather than just throwing them away is a really great way to help our planet and save you some money. If you're someone who can fix your clothes instead of throwing them away, then you don't have to buy a new shirt every time you get a little snag or sometimes the hem comes loose. That is my greatest pet peeve with clothes. So when you have a shirt you love and one day you just look down and one part of your shirt is longer than the other part and you realize that the threads have come undone and your shirt is coming unhemmed, if you can sew, no problem. You just fix the hem, sew it back up where it belongs, and you're good to go. So this is a really easy way to start learning how to sew. Sometimes a hem you probably want to do on a sewing machine, but if you're just learning to sew by hand, like we're doing right now, this is a great way to start. And then I personally am somebody who likes to sew by hand, so I've re-hemmed a couple shirts by hand. I don't know what it is about my sewing machine that just intimidates me a little bit, so if I can just sew it by hand, I usually prefer to. So while I've been chit-chatting, I tied off the bottom. So our bottom of our shirt is all done, and I've scooted our shirt up so that we can start sewing our sleeves. We don't need quite as much thread for the top because the sleeves are obviously much shorter than the bottom. But same thing, we're gonna wanna line it up and make sure that one side of our sleeve is not hanging over the other too much. And then we'll just do the same thing. Right here where the seam is, you'll just poke your hole, pull your thread through, and then I'm gonna sew it the same way. Just do my little loop, and back over, there we go. And then exact same way as you did the bottom, you'll do both your sleeves. So that's the nice thing about this project is once you've done the bottom, the rest is just smooth sailing. You're just doing the same thing on all 4 of the openings on your shirt. Something that I would love to make someday, but I have never made. I had one gifted to me when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. Someone's mom made me a purse out of a pair of jeans. It was the coolest, like one of the coolest gifts I ever got as a kid. It was so cute. It was one of my first purses. She sewed little fringe along the bottom and beaded the fringe, so it was really, really cute. I think she just like cut the pants in half and sewed down the middle, like where the middle of the pants would be, and then cut off the leg so that it was like probably about that big. That was so cool. I thought that was so neat. It's such a great way, again, to upcycle something and give something a second life. If you have a pair of pants that have a big hole in them and you can't use them anymore, or if you have a pair of jeans that don't fit anymore and you don't want to donate them or get rid of them, just make them into a purse. It was great. It was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. But of course, donating our clothes is a great way to help other people and get rid of things that we can't use anymore. So that's always an option too. All right, coming to the end of our sleeve. Luckily, I have a little more thread this time than I did last time. If you noticed, I was really struggling to tie off our bottom because I did not give myself much slack. But sometimes you get to the end, you've got like this much thread left and you're just like determined, like there's no way that I'm gonna have to stop here and make more thread just for this little bit. No way. I got this. I'm gonna double knot this guy because he just seems a little loose. There we go. All right, so let's switch sides. I'll show you where we're at so far. So this sleeve is all stitched up. Our bottom is all stitched up. Now we're gonna do our last sleeve. And then we get to the fun part. Ooh, I got too much hanging off the table. He's kind of sliding out of my lap. Let's see. Oh, the saver in me really thinks I could make this work, but I think it's too short. Darn. I will make the smallest piece of thread work. That is like just that's my life's goal, is to just use as little of something as I can, but that might have been too little. So let's get another little piece here. Thread our needle again. It's only the millionth time, so we should be good at it at this point. Let's see. There we go. Feels like it gets easier every time, but then I don't sew for like a little bit, a couple weeks, and I completely forget. Sewing and learning to sew is also a really fun way to make your clothes your own. If you're somebody who wants to learn how to embroider, that is like, oh, one of my favorite ways to save a pair of pants that has like a hole in it, and not like the purposeful holes, not an intentional hole. If you snag your jeans on something and you're like, oh man, I have a hole in my pants now, I have to get rid of them. No way. You can embroider some flowers or something cool over the top of the hole and just, you don't even have to try to sew it back together. You just make it your own. Or if you want to embroider some little flowers on your pockets, I just think that's so fun. I have a bunch of Disney patches. I'm a big Disney fan. I have a bunch of Disney patches at my house and a denim vest. And I have been trying to sew the patches onto that denim vest for years. I'm just if you're like me, you are not alone. I am a project picker-upper and putter-downer. I love a project, but I also love to have not only 100 projects, but a project in progress at all times. So someday my Disney vest will be done, but for now, it is just a work in progress. And that's okay. That means that I always have something to turn back to. If you're like me, frame it that way. We always have a hobby to turn back to, right? We always have something to look forward to. We always have some project we could be doing. So if you're bored and you're like, man, I don't know what to do, don't worry. Don't you worry. You probably have a project that you could put a little bit of work in on. Every couple of months, I pick up my Disney vest and I'm like, hey, I haven't worked on this in a while. And I put a patch on it and then I put it down for a couple more weeks. And maybe I'll come back to it. So maybe in 2027, you'll see me on the virtual programs with my Disney vest complete. Maybe. I won't make any promises. All right, almost at the end. these are a project though. Not a pick her up or put her down kind of project. These are pretty quick. All right, here's our last stitch. Let me go back through. Make our knot. So through our last stitch. Don't pull all the way. We're going to pull back through our little loop. And tug, tug, tug. Perfect. All right, so this is the fun part. I mean, sewing's fun too, but this is the part that I love. We are going to flip our shirt right side in so that our graphic is back on the outside. This can be a little tricky because now, of course, you only have one opening on your shirt and it's the head hole, and you have to try and pull all of your shirt back through the head hole, but it can be done. So, and if you're looking at me and you're like, she said that that could be hard. Remember, I have 3,000 of these, so I've done this a few times. So it's gonna look a little funny because your shirt is all sewn up. So you've got your arms, this one's a little, there we go. You've got your arms all sewn up and you've got your bottom all sewn up. You can see it's kind of curling up on itself. I think I can probably push a little bit of that. That's another thing that you'll have to do before you start to fluff, is just kind of push all your corners out, make sure that nobody's like stuck up inside. All right, so we've got our sewn up shirt. Nothing's getting out of the bottom of there. And we are going to fill it with our polyfill. So I'm just gonna start with some handfuls of fluff. And I always like to go all the way to the bottom and try to push it into my corners as best I can so that we can fill those, because once you start filling your shirt way up with fluff, like once you're up by the neckline, it's very hard to get your corners full with fluff. So I always do those first thing and just make sure that there is no way that I'm gonna miss getting those fluffed. It's okay if you do miss it, it's not a big deal, but it can look a little deflated at the bottom if your corners are unfluffed. So I'm gonna push into the bottom now. Bottom's all full. Let's start pushing into the middle. You can also order this fluff on Amazon. I don't know if the craft stores sell it in super large quantities, but I got a 10-pound box on Amazon, and that was a lot of fluff. You forget that fluff is light. So if you think about ordering like 10 pounds of rocks, probably not gonna get a ton of rocks. You think about ordering 10 pounds of feathers or polyfill, you get a lot of polyfill. So I have a lot of polyfill. It comes in handy. Like I said, we use it around the library for decorations. These make great clouds. We do sewing projects. If you've never been to the library to do a craft before, definitely come check it out because we have a lot of fun. Let me get a little more height in the middle of my shirt because I like a real fluffy pillow. And then once you get up towards the top, before you fill in the neck, you want to fill in your arms. So you'll fluff your arms, because that is another spot where if you don't fill those before you fill in the top closest to your neck, it's very hard to get back into the arms. So definitely want to do those before you fill up all the way to the top. All right, now that my arms are full, let's finish it off. Ooh, sometimes the fluff usually stays together, but sometimes a little fiber comes off and you're just trying not to catch fluff in your mouth. Okay. All right, so we've got our pillow fluffed. It looks so silly. I love filling these with fluff because it looks like a, I don't know, have you ever seen a scarecrow all filled with hay? This reminds me of a scarecrow. So I'm gonna keep it in my lap and push the fluff down out of the neck hole as best I can, because now we're gonna sew our neck hole shut or else all of our fluff's gonna come out. So, over the top of my pillow. Let me find my needle again. Can't reach. All right, I think I might have just enough pink thread to sew the top of our pillow shut, and then she'll be gone. Oh, I don't even know if I have that much. Okay, let's see. We'll see if we can do it, or else I'm gonna go back into all my scrap thread, and see if I can use it up. Like I said, I do not like to waste, so I wouldn't be mad if I had to go in and use all my scraps, but some of them are pretty small. Don't know that we're gonna get a lot of stitches out of them. Okay, got our knot tied. Let's get the fluff back down because it loves to grow out. And we are gonna sew the neckline. This is a little tricky, so if you need a friend or a grown-up to help you kind of hold it shut, that is a huge help, but I am just gonna do my best. So I'm gonna hold the two sides of my neck, so the back of the neckline and the front of the neckline together, and we're gonna push through at the very edge, just like we did with the bottom and with our arms. I'm gonna just loop, try to make sure my loop goes over the top and not just hanging out at the side. Come on, go over the top, you gotta be a stitch. There we go. It's definitely not gonna be enough thread, but we're gonna make it work as best we can. Make sure your tag stays inside. I don't want my tag sticking out. All right, I think that's about all we get out of this thread. So let's close that off, make our knot, and then hopefully, I'm hoping maybe I have a blue that matches the sea creature that we could use instead of the pink, but if not, white will have to do. Far at all. Sometimes you look back at what you've sewn and you're like, oh no, I did not get as far as I had hoped. Let's see, this blue might do it. Yeah, it looks like our sea creatures. And again, nobody's judging me. This is just for me, nobody's grading us. So if you have to use 2 different colored threads like me, or if you want to use like a million colored threads, go for it, who cares? This is just for us. Little keepsake, little memorial pillow, little tribute pillow if you want to do something like that, or just a fun little keepsake, a little upcycle. This is not a good end. Let's try this one. Oh, I said I was getting so much better at it. Come on. I am going to cut the tail off this one, since this is probably going to stick out a little. All right, let's finish our top. Actually, let's do one more. It doesn't hurt. That guy kind of scooted over to the right more than I thought. There we go. All right, now let's tie our knot. I didn't leave myself very much room again, but I think we can do it. All right, there we go. Ooh, what did I cut off? I'm not even sure what got cut there. There we go. There we go. All right, there is our t-shirt pillow. So fluffy and fun. I probably could have stuffed it a little bit more, but I don't know, it makes for a nice kind of floppy, soft pillow. I feel like maybe more fluff would have made it a little too firm. But it's so fun, and now I get to keep my Oceans of Possibilities shirt forever. And it's kind of funny because I can put my head above it and it looks like I'm wearing my shirt. I love making these. This is something that I just treasured so much as a kid, and I still love it. I still love making a t-shirt pillow. And it's machine washable because it's just a shirt, and your polyfill is just polyfiber. So you could throw this in the wash if you spill anything on it, but they're pretty easy to keep clean, pretty easy to maintain. I think I'm gonna keep this at my desk. So if you ever come to the library and say, Miss Caroline, where is your t-shirt pillow? I will bring it out and show it to you because I'm so proud of it and I love it so much, and it's just so silly with its arms. I kind of hug it and snuggle up to it. So I hope that you had fun making your t-shirt pillow. I hope that you make t-shirt pillows endlessly now like I did, because it's just too much fun. And like I said, it keeps our clothes out of the waste cycle. It gives you something comfy to snuggle with. It's just an all-around win-win. It's putting its arm around me. This is great. It's just like a silly, funny pillow, and I love it so much. So if you are interested in learning more about crafts that you can do with your old clothes or with sustainability, you can come check out the craft section here at the library or on Libby. We've got lots of cool crafts like this that use recycled materials, old clothes, plastic bottles, whatever you have laying around the house. You don't necessarily have to go to the craft store to have fun craft materials. This is proof. You can just use an old shirt, and you have to go to the store to get some polyfill, but that's the only thing. It's the only thing you need to make a really fun pillow and keep your favorite shirts forever and ever. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're having a great summer. If you're headed back to school, have a wonderful school year. We hope to see you at the library. We have lots of great resources for you to do research and projects and just pick up your next favorite read. So I hope you're having a wonderful day, a wonderful summer, a wonderful start to the school year, just an all-around good time. This has been Miss Caroline, and we'll see you soon. Bye.